Welcome to the First Customers Podcast. I'm your host, Paris Vega, and today we have Amy Jordan. She has built a successful travel agency that she started in the middle of COVID lockdown and has now grown the company to over 18 agents that work with hundreds of clients around the world. Amy, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Paris. It's great to be here.
All right, let's get right into what everybody wants to know. How in the world did you get customers when nobody was traveling?
Yeah, that's a great question. I'm so glad you asked. So, uh, initially, it was friends and family, and we actually didn't post a lot on Facebook or in our own social media channels because traveling at that time was such a hot topic. But there were a few destinations that were open, and they were some of the destinations that we specialized in as an agency. So, the people who wanted to travel, we let them know that we were available to help with that because there were so many policy changes and day-to-day updates for different places. So specifically like US theme parks in Mexico, we had a lot of clients. Disney would email overnight and they would change things. So we were
Okay.
really, we were really interactive at that time, letting people know, hey, last night it was this, and then today it's this. So just be aware as you're traveling. So it was an exciting time to be a travel agent. Like you had to be ready. I can remember timing one phone call to a supplier is what we call, the places our clients travel to, and it was a 6-hour hold time. And I wasn't even booking for the client. I was undoing something because,
Okay.
during COVID, everything was in such flux. So
Right.
we really worked hard to let people know through word of mouth, social media, a little bit
Mhm.
what we were doing. But getting clients was a challenge. Initially, we did a lot of Facebook marketing. We did some Google ads. We did eventually, as things started opening back up, we did some shows. So, we have a table and we have different brochures and we interact with
Okay.
people that way. Yeah, that was always interesting, especially, during that, 2020 and 2021. A lot of people had very strong opinions about traveling and things like that. So that
Right.
taught me a lot as far as interacting with people, how to navigate client interactions. And uh, we had to be very aware of what was happening in the countries our clients were traveling to. Again, those destinations that, day to day, it was changing.
Yeah. So let's back up a little bit. Why would you
Sure.
start a travel agency during lockdown? Why would you even do that?
This is a very good question again. Yeah. So it was a huge decision for me. I had been a travel agent for a few years before that, and I had been on
Okay.
a great team, and I had excellent training. And I just felt the pull to want to build my own team. So I wanted to have a little bit of a different approach to some things. But as a risk averse person, it was a huge decision for me. And I really struggled with it for probably more than a year. I went back and forth. And something that helped me, I'm a book person, and I read a book that said it was talking about not overthinking your decisions, and it was a very
Okay.
methodical approach. Yeah, it's called Don't Overthink It, and the author is Anne Bogle. So I went
Awesome.
through, yeah, my book has lots of notes in it, and I went through and basically followed the steps that she recommended for making a decision, and there was no reason not to do it except that I was scared of failing. So once I sort of went through that thought process of what's the worst thing that can happen, uh, there was nothing left, right? Let's just do it.
Yeah.
I had to treat it like an experiment so that I wouldn't feel so much pressure to be a rock star.
Okay. Interesting.
Yeah.
All right. So then let's go in a little closer to that moment. So you're working at the travel agency, and then you're like, hey, lockdown, now's the time to start
Yeah.
this.
It doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. So, yeah, it was really, it forced me to think about and reanalyze why I'm doing what I'm doing and
Mhm.
what my long-term goal is. And I really wanted to build a team. I wanted to be part of the training process. I wanted to be part of the hiring process. And I wanted to I had a drive to do it. I can't really
Yeah.
even explain it. And a lot of times I would think, why do I want to do this? but I really wanted to try it, to
Yeah.
experiment with it to see if it would work.
How long were you a travel agent before starting your own agency?
4 years.
4 years.
Yeah.
I mean, you
So I
got the
don't,
entrepreneurial itch.
is that what it is? Is that what that's called?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I had never
Okay.
had a drive to want to open my own business before. I was trained, I have a science
Interesting.
based degree, and then I was trained as a retail florist. So I worked in the floral industry for a while. I had been a waitress before that. I did a little bit in the finance industry just to dip my toe into it.
Hmm.
And then we had kids. I stayed at home with our kids. And then this was coming out of those, tiny baby years. And I had a friend who became a travel agent and she recruited me. And then,
Okay.
yeah, so here we are.
Awesome. All
Yeah,
right. So let's get into the more specific moments of, all right, you've decided to start this business. How did you reach out to the very first people? You said it was friends and family. So what did that look like when you were approaching people about your business? How did you contact them? Tell us about that.
sure. Yeah, so that was a lot of face to face for me.
Okay.
We had been to some destinations and as a mom with young kids traveling, and specifically for Disney World for me, the very
Okay.
first time that I visited Disney World, I had never been before and it was completely overwhelming to me. So we had kids at the time and I really just sort of stayed very central to where we were staying at the time as far as the hotel, and then we just sort of went to the parks a little bit. And once we came home from that, I thought, you know what? I think that could have been better. I think that I missed out on some things because I wasn't even aware. So fast forward our next trip, we did hire a travel professional to help us. And from that experience, and even wanting to be even more specific with what we could have done with our family as far as activities and reservations, I took that.
Mhm.
And then when my friend became a travel agent, I saw how those two things could be married. So we did a lot of Disney trips for families initially. So how that worked as far
Was it
as
a
how.
better, was it a much better experience?
Yes,
Okay.
absolutely. Because our travel professional asked us questions and she gave us ideas that, again, I didn't even know about and I didn't have the time to research.
Gotcha.
So her recommendations were spot on. And even I can remember one thing that she was like, hey, you shouldn't eat at that restaurant. And I was like, no, I really want to. And she was like, okay. And she did it. And it was terrible. But I was like, you know what? She actually knew what she was talking about. So it helped a ton. And I realized I wanted to do that for other families. So
Okay,
the
cool.
first clients that I had, it was someone who had come over for dinner and we were close friends with, and they were talking about the frustrations of trying to work on their Disney trip. And I said, oh, you know what? I can help you with that. And this is how I can help you. And then we booked it like sitting on the couch in my living room with my laptop. Does that
Okay,
answer your
cool. And had
question?
you
Yeah.
started, yeah, yeah. Had you started the
Yeah.
business yet? Or was that like
Yes.
the inspiration for, okay.
Yeah. So that was my early independent contractor days. So my first
Okay.
client, yeah, they were close friends. I had family members that wanted to travel to Disney again who had never been, and they needed a lot of help with it. So I was able to help with their trips, and then it sort of expanded from there. Once I reached that sort of saturation point as far as friends and family, and I didn't want to keep beating them over the head with travel, um, I did extend. So I had a lot of success with Facebook ads as an independent contractor. So earlier in my travel agent
Okay.
career, so I had Facebook ads and I had clients from around the country. I can remember one family from Montana who they were clients, they've been repeat clients, and they were super awesome clients to work with. But I remember the feeling of getting a client the first time that I didn't know. I was really intimidated. I really struggled with what is that syndrome where it's like a poser syndrome, or you
Oh,
think you're
imposter syndrome. Yeah.
imposter. Thank you. So
Yeah.
I struggled with that. I had to like hype myself up before each call, like, it's not about me, it's about what the client needs and what I can help them, how I can help them.
Right.
So it was really exciting to me, and then those clients started referring me to other clients, and so it went on from there.
Okay. All right. And so it sounds like you were working at the agency and then you started freelancing, independent contractor work. And then that led to starting a full fledged business where you're starting to hire other people.
Yeah, so I was
Okay.
still with the other agency. I was always part of that team, and then once I opened my agency, of course, that was the start of a new chapter for us. So it was,
Okay.
yeah, it was a really scary moment. I also did some shows. So, to get new clients and to expand my email list and things like that. And interacting with people about specific destinations is always exciting as far as the general public, because they can get super opinionated. I guess people feel more free to say what they want to say when they're just stopping by their table. And then I don't know if you've had that experience, but I would just have to say, hey, you know what? This is not a political discourse. I'm just a travel agent. I work for you. I don't work. I haven't made any of these decisions, you guys. Just be nice.
Oh,
Either.
because of like if Disney would be in the news for some political issue or something.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
I
Lots and lots of
gotcha.
opinions. And we don't just sell Disney, but Disney was where we really started. So yes, that's always interesting to me, is having to navigate conversations about people who are making decisions, and they don't ask me what I think. Like the people that make those decisions, they don't. I'm not invited to those meetings, so like I'm not
Yeah.
responsible for
Right.
that. So
And
so yeah, but
you don't have to have any like direct relationship with Disney or anything, or is there like
absolutely
certifications or
not.
something? Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah, well, we do have a strong relationship with Disney because it's called earmarked in this industry. So Disney has a
Okay.
special kind of stamp of approval for reaching certain sales metrics and certain.
I got you.
It's more than that. There's a lot of paperwork involved too, but um, we love Disney travel, and that's something that we can really help our clients with. But again, like I work for you. I work for my clients. I sell Disney, but I work for you. So
Yeah.
I enjoy the process of discovery for my clients. And sometimes we can even say, hey, you know what? This certain destination may not be a good fit for you right now because of what you're telling me. What have you thought about this other destination? This might be something that might be more for what you're looking for. So, as someone who wasn't ever trained to be a salesperson, that was a huge hurdle for me in the beginning as far as acquiring new clients and being comfortable with the fact finding process for new clients. I had to I had to learn, not sort of, I definitely had to learn how to interact with people and find out what's important to them. And now that's one of my favorite parts of the job.
All right. And so you said that when you got your first customers, people would talk and it was word of mouth. How did that grow or change over time? Like how do you get leads now? Or have you
Yeah.
gotten leads?
Yeah. So now it's a very similar process. It's word of mouth. It's a lot of word of mouth and referrals, which is awesome. I always do a happy dance when we get a referral because it's like a little present. It's like not
Yeah.
only did my client have a great time, but they told other people about it. I think that's just the best gift that clients can give. So it's a lot of referrals. We do Google ads, we do Facebook ads. We're working on LinkedIn. I'm on TikTok now, which my kids are not happy about, and they've already their friends are telling them that my videos are cringe, which is a new kind of humble pie, y'all.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm working on it, but being out and about in the community has also been pretty effective for me in the past. We've recently moved, so I'm still working on that aspect. But
Okay.
yeah, and where we lived before, I loved being able to book. It's still, my friends when they want to go somewhere and they reach out. My neighbors, I booked an amazing. We planned an amazing Italy trip for my neighbors in my old neighborhood. So
Wow.
yeah, so I'm not a huge extrovert person, so that is kind of hard for me as far as like, going and getting a huge new set of friends and all that. It takes me a couple years to really
Yeah.
build up my friend base. So uh, that's sometimes challenging, but I love Google ads. I love Facebook ads. I love online marketing. I think it's just a fascinating thing that continues to change and sometimes makes me want to throw my computer out the window. But uh, yeah,
Yeah.
I'm not an expert on it like you are, Paris, but I learn. I try to learn. I try to adapt, but
Yeah.
sometimes, yeah, it changes fast.
Yeah. Talk about that part a little bit. How has the lead maybe quantity or quality changed over the years, over the past few years since you've been using those as lead sources?
Yeah. So Facebook ads haven't been as good for me as they used to be. Used to, I could run a 7-day ad and put some parameters on it and get, at least one booking, maybe more than that from just my small ad, which was what I was looking for generally, is just because we're so maybe concierge level, I can only do a few at a time for myself. And then when I'm ready, I run another ad. So that hasn't shifted as much, or I mean, that hasn't worked as much as it used to for me. Google ads have been better for me. And then now we have some Facebook groups that have also been good for leads. So, uh, pushing myself to start Facebook groups, I did not want to do that. I had heard for years that Facebook groups are a better way to be in front of people, but the interaction, the constancy of that kind of group was really hard to wrap my mind around. So I had a good friend in the industry who shared a lot of her knowledge with me, who has some amazing groups. And then we got started. So I have 3 Facebook groups that are destination specific, and I try to post twice a day in there. And part of joining the group is, do you need help with your trip? And then an email address drop if you want to join the mailing list. So that's a great way that we're getting leads too. It's just a lot of work. And
Yeah.
sometimes I just get tired of the interaction, but it's been good. So it's definitely pushing me out of my comfort zone.
What are the 3 destinations that you focus on?
So those 3 Facebook groups are specific to Disney trips for families. I think it's the title Disney trips for busy families,
Okay.
Universal Studios, and then Sandals and Beaches Resort in the Caribbean.
Okay. And is that the main locations you focus on
Yes,
service
so
wise?
those
Are there
are,
other locations?
yes. So we do more than just those, but those are our specialties right now, our niche.
Okay.
Um, yeah, if we have a client that we're working with who has, like, I have a Hawaii client right now that I just got in contact with yesterday. We do other destinations. So, but those 3 are our niche, let's say.
All right.
Yeah.
So let's say you were starting all over again today.
No,
What do you
I don't
think
want to.
you
No. That's too hard. No.
what would you do differently based on what you learned getting this business going the past few years? How do you think you would approach getting customers?
I don't know. Let me think about this question. This, you throw me in curveball. What would I do differently? So I'd probably hire a little bit differently because,
Okay.
yeah, that takes a lot of my time. So I'm actually not as focused on selling now as I was when I first started the business or when I was an independent contractor. I would hire a little bit differently because that is such a it takes a lot of time for training, and I love that process. It's one of my favorite things about where I am right now is the hiring and training process and getting to know a new agent. Uh, so I'd probably handle that just a little bit differently. Um, I really don't know if I would do anything differently. Probably after we get off our call, I'll say, "Oh my gosh, I should have said this and that." But it's every moment has been a learning experience. So,
Yeah.
I don't really know how to answer that question. I'd have to mull over it.
So it sounds like since the Facebook groups have been working now, I guess that could be something that if you had started a few years ago and had
Yes.
time to build up,
Yes.
that could be more of a valuable asset the earlier
I
you start
agree.
it.
Yes. I think that's accurate. I think I shouldn't have been so afraid to start those groups. That's probably
Yeah.
a good perspective. I had thought about it for a long time, and I should have probably started it. I could have started those earlier. Yeah.
Yeah. And what would you do differently? You said you would hire differently, but what specifically would you hire different roles at different times, or what do you mean by that?
Yeah. So I think I would have not ignored my feeling that this person is probably not going to be a good fit for our company, for our team.
Okay. So
Yeah. So
fired earlier or just not hired
probably not
based on your
hired.
gut?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Just a little bit. I think there were times when there was more than one red flag when I probably should have listened to that and I didn't. Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay. And right now, all your employees are agents?
Yes, they're all
Okay.
travel. You can say travel agent
Travel
is the old school
professionals?
term that
Okay.
yeah, travel professionals, travel agent, travel. I mean it's
Okay.
six or one half dozen.
Travel pro, travel
Travel
person,
pro. Yep,
hire your travel human.
that's
Okay.
right.
All right. So how do you see growing from here? What do you think needs to be changed or take you to that next level?
I don't know all the things that I want to do, and I feel
Hmm.
like the space time continuum is holding me back. Or I need it or something. Yeah.
Yeah.
I it's summertime and my kids are home and there's a lot going on and I feel like if I'm going to be a part of my kids' lives, I have to sort of pause some things with work. Right? I mean, I hope that's not an
Yeah.
uncommon struggle, but I don't want to look back on this time and have regrets as far as
Right.
you know, a lot of things, but I also want to put a lot of effort into my job. And there are a lot of things that I want to do for my team to have resources. I've been able to interact with people recently and meet some new suppliers. And I'm just so excited about the growth of our company, selling more destinations. People want to travel to Europe and we want to help them get there. But I also don't want to forget, what we know and what we love. So sometimes the biggest hurdle for me is deciding what I need to do today.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think I was listening to uh I forget his name. I'm sorry, I can't recall that, but a guest on your podcast and he was talking about
Okay.
the true north and how you want to get to a point, but it's non-linear. Your growth is
Okay.
non-linear and like
Yeah.
how do you get there? We need GPS and I can really relate to that because I think there are some good things that we want to do as a company, but to get there, it's not just I can sit down and do it. It's like I have to do this, and then we have to go here, and it's a
Right.
lot.
Yeah. Well, it's
Yeah,
cool that the company allows some flexibility, it sounds like. Yeah,
absolutely.
like you can
Yeah,
adjust based on your schedule. So that's really neat.
yeah.
All right. So what is kind of the main value that maybe somebody gets from using a travel professional? Because,
Why you
I
gotta
think
say
we've
it like
talked about
that?
this
No,
before. You know what I mean? Like, because
I know,
I
I
guess
know.
I've never done that before. And so to me, it's just like, hey, I'm just going to go where I want to go.
Yeah. I mean, it's a great question. And I'm not just saying that to say it, but it is a good question because so many people think that there aren't any travel agents anymore, or I can just go on the internet and
Yeah,
book a trip. You
exactly.
absolutely, yes, you absolutely can go on the internet and book a trip. You can not call me. It's fine. I won't only be mad a little while. Uh, but what we do for our clients is we help with let's use Disney in particular. So Disney has a lot of options when you go to book their trip. So which resort is right for you? Over 20 different resorts, uh, how many days you're going to be there. There's 4 different parks. Are you going to go to all 4 parks? And then there's several ticket options. So if you call me and you say, hey, we want to go to Disney, I'm going to say, we're going to talk, right? I'm going to start by asking questions. And then we're going to have another conversation. So first, we're going to get your initial, what we call a package booked. Then we're going to have a follow up conversation. And that's where I really start digging in to your specific family. So, Paris, I know you guys. So, I know you have 2 kids and I know their ages. And I know, hey, they're probably going to want to do this particular experience at Disney, and we can put that reservation in place. And then we're going to talk about some really specific things like food allergies and your kids' favorite characters and all of that. I take those notes and I put your reservations in place. So, like transportation and dining. And, if you want to build a lightsaber in Hollywood Studios at Galaxy's Edge, yeah, like we can put all that in place ahead of time.
Cool.
And then we would have another conversation. And of course, we're interacting along the way if you have a question. And then before you travel, we go over a few policies that Disney has in place. So I want to make sure that you're comfortable with what you are going to be experiencing while you're there, as far as, what time should you be at your dining reservation? And if you need to adjust something, how can you do that? And then while you're at Disney World, I'm on call, so to speak. So when clients are traveling, they'll send me a text and say, hey, I have this question or an issue. And then I'll stop what I'm doing as far as the value. So my birthday, right? We're having a tiny little getaway. I have a VIP client and they're doing a special guided tour the next day. It's my birthday. We're walking out of the hotel to go to dinner. And the VIP guide for their next day texts me and is like, something wrong. Like, she gave me the wrong information, and I just freaked out. So I had to call all these things and get everything fixed on my birthday night for my client. And really, honestly, my husband was fine about it. He didn't mind. But we got it fixed. And I was like, you know what? It's okay. Of course, it's my birthday. It kind of sucks, but I'm working for my client, so I'm on call. So
Yeah.
the value that I bring, hopefully, is also problem solving and advocating on your behalf, just in case something happens.
Yeah.
So there are a lot of things in place that I do for my clients, hopefully to bring them additional value to their trip. Ooh,
Yeah.
there's my
It's
light.
almost like that's all right. It's almost like a trip insurance of sorts on different levels, like ensuring that you have a good time and do everything you want to do. And then knowing that you got somebody as backup. Your lights going on and off, but you got somebody as backup when things go wrong, which that
Yes,
seems like can happen all the time on a vacation.
absolutely. Yep.
All right.
Yeah. Did I answer your
Well,
question?
yeah.
Okay.
Let's wrap up by letting everybody know how they could reach out if they're like, hey, we want that kind of support on our next trip. How can they find you and how can they hire you?
Oh, awesome. So we are online at travelbugcompany.com. You can email me directly, Amy at travelbugcompany.com, all spelled out. And we would be delighted to help you with your trip.
Awesome. Well, thanks, Amy, for being here. And thanks, everybody, for listening. And we'll see you on the next episode of the First Customers Podcast.
All right. Thank you, Paris.
Later.